A few days ago, I started running some polls in the community tab of the channel, wherein I was asking you all to vote on what you thought was the best generic female character design in Tactics Ogre Reborn. I gathered up the results of each poll and put the winners together in one final poll so we could decide as a community what the best design was. And today, Jane and I are going to talk about that. Let's begin. Hello everyone, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman, and here today with me is...
Hello, I'm Jane.
You all should know Jane, or at least many of you should know Jane. I've spoken about her before, you've heard her on my streams, all that type of good stuff. And seeing as how Jane is the design enthusiast of the two of us as a cosplayer and everything, I figured it'd be fun to bring her in on this conversation about the designs of the generic female characters in Tactics Ogre Reborn. So thank you for joining me, darling.
Yeah, thanks for asking me to come on.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is something that Jane and I have been talking about just casually on our own as I've been running the polls, and she has given her own votes and her own thoughts on the characters' designs, so it only seemed right that I bring her in on the video. And basically what we're going to do, the format here is going to be, we're going to discuss each round of the poll, give our thoughts on like what my favorite design was versus what Jane's favorite design was, what the winner was, our thoughts about that, and then the finals and our overall feelings about the whole thing.
Yeah.
So should be fun. And we're going to start right off here with Berserker. So this is an excellent design.
Yes.
Like, I love Berserker. I think a lot of people really enjoy Berserker. It's nice because it has like, it's obviously a powerful character.
Right.
Right? Like, you can tell she's muscular, she's intimidating looking, she's got the horned helmet and the whole kit and caboodle.
Right.
But, like, also stands out from the male Berserker in having some femininity, the skirt and all that type of stuff.
Right, right.
But I think it's a really cool design.
Yeah, I do too. I really like the dagger hanging off her hip. It's a nice touch.
And it's nice because Berserkers can use daggers in games. It's
Oh.
not just like an aesthetic flair. That
Right.
is literally a weapon type they can
Very
use.
cool.
So, yeah, it's like fists, daggers, two-handed hammers,
Yeah.
two-handed axes, stuff like that. So, very cool stuff.
I like to think that the band on her leg she can use as a tourniquet if something happens to one of her comrades.
Or herself,
Or
even.
herself.
That's actually, like, a really cool idea, because you think about it, what other reason would that have for being there?
Right.
You know? That's a really good point, huh? See, again, this is why I wanted to bring Jane on. She notices the little details that would completely pass me by. I'm sure there's some sort of, like, real-world application for this as well, but I do like the one-armed, like, one arm armored and the one arm not.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like an archer almost, like with how they have one arm guard and...
With, like, a bracer and everything,
Right.
yeah. I have to wonder if that's just, like, to be able to, like, catch attacks?
Yeah, maybe like a blocking arm or
Yeah,
something.
because I guess you think about it, and if she's right-handed, her left arm is lower on the haft of the weapon. If she's swinging, that's going to be the arm that's going to be in front of her face.
Right, right.
So yeah, maybe that's what that is.
That could be what that is, yeah. I
Fin-
like the fur on the gloves too.
Oh yeah. Very like classic leather armor, medieval style for sure. If any of y'all have any insight into like armor and how that works, let us know if we're at all on the mark with that, because it's definitely an interesting thing to consider.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Enchantress. So, I mean, this is just a classic witchy design,
yeah.
right? Like, floating in the air, obviously floating, like, there's no weight on the legs.
Right.
Staff, big witch hat, like, the long leather boots and everything. But, again, really good design.
I love it. I love the floppy boot tops.
Yeah, right? They're, like, loose and just kind of there. Yeah.
But like tied in place so they don't flop around too much. The armor on the foot too. I like that little detail.
Oh, yeah, like, almost sort of boots, but, like, not quite.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I imagine she's floating around and can just deliver a swift kick with an armored toe to something.
Yeah.
Wah!
I like that.
Dagger on the hip, like with
this
the
one
Berserker.
also has a dagger on the hip. Interesting.
And again, wieldable by wizards and enchantresses, so...
She's got a little ascot around her neck.
Yeah, that's a cool little detail. I do
Yeah.
like that. Very stylish, you know? And then, of course, the big floofy hair
Yeah, the big
is
hair is
always
good.
Big hair is fantastic. Big hair, big hat.
Yep.
It's good stuff.
Yeah,
It's
I
good
love
stuff.
the hat. The hat's very satisfying.
Then, of course, you have, like, the long stockings and all that type of stuff, which
Yeah.
is just, like, classic design. It's overall, like, not as much detail to talk about, because it's just a witchy design.
Right.
But I like it.
I do too.
It's funny that it's like, this isn't the witch design. We'll talk about the witch design in a little bit, like the actual class. But no, it's cool.
My only critique is I'd like the staff to be bigger.
That's fair. That's fair.
But it's cute.
Yeah, absolutely. The I think the wizard, the male counterpart to this class, might have a bigger staff if I'm remembering correctly, and then the witch has a longer one that she's holding as well. So, so that was the second of the 4 in the first poll, followed up by Archer. Again, very classic Archer design, but cool, sleek. Again, dagger on the hip.
Another dagger on the hip.
A recurring theme here. I don't think Cleric has a dagger on the hip, which is the 4th for this poll, but. No, I like it. We've got like the Robin Hood sort of hat, very practical design. Definitely someone you can imagine being like out in the forests hunting an animal or looking for traps or something like that.
Got a cape to protect from the elements.
Indeed. Very like not even armored really much of anything except on the heel. It looks like all leather, easily breathable, movable, probably. Flexible is the word I was looking for, not movable.
Yeah. Well, that still works.
Yeah, fair. The feather in the cap, all that type of good stuff.
Yep, I like the green. Green's very classic for an archer.
Yep. Very, like, muted, earthy tones in general. Grays and blacks and greens and browns. Feels like something that would blend in to the forest, things like that.
I'm sure that's the purpose of it.
Yeah. Again, very grounded design.
Yeah.
I like it.
But there is some ornateness on the dagger, on the bracer.
True.
And on their boots, so
True.
That's neat, too.
True. Again, the little details, like... I saw the bracer, I was just like, yep, it's a bracer.
Yep.
Didn't really even consider like the sort of gold filigree on it and stuff like that. So still a little bit of flashiness to draw your eye because these are JRPG characters after all.
Yeah, right.
So that's nice. And then finally, last but certainly not least, or well, it was least in the poll anyway, is Cleric, which, again, like, it's not a bad design at all. I kind of like, and this is the same thing with the male Cleric as well, they're not super religious looking characters. They just look like healers.
Right.
Which is nice. You know, especially like JRPGs focus a lot on like the church and religion and everything like that. And that's a feature in Tactics Ogre. But, you know, you think of a cleric or a priest in other games and it's like super ornate flowing robes and a big like mitre hat. And yeah, exactly. This is just like, no, I could see this person working at like a shrine. Like actually working, you know. Doing healerly duties, very sensible. Again, I like the hat. Just like, I don't know, it's just a hat, but it's like, because it's just a hat, it feels appropriate.
Right. I agree.
So no, it's a fun design, big old bonking stick.
Yep.
Which is always fun, and yeah, I like the blues. It's a nice contrast to the greens of the archer. So, so do you remember what the winner, or unless you had any other comments about Cleric?
Well, it looks like there's something hanging off of her hip there.
You know, it does, doesn't it? I think
it's a dagger.
I think it's just a belt. I don't see anything that would be a handle that would be indicative of a dagger.
Now, see, I haven't played the game, but do they have any attacks or?
They can bonk with the stick.
Okay,
and that's about it.
So it wouldn't make sense for her to have a dagger.
No, all of the 3 previous classes all can use daggers as part of their actual kit, but clerics basically just have cudgels and like wands and things like that. So.
Well, it just looks like a very comfortable design. I really enjoy. I like the long, like, tabard in front of her hips and between her legs.
Yeah, that's cool. It's like...
Whatever you call that.
It's a good question, right? Because it looks like it's attached to her undershirt under her, like, jacket/coat.
Yeah, it's like a... Yeah, it's like part of her undershirt.
Yeah. I guess that would just be a tabard, huh?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's cool, though.
Yeah.
And it's cinched under the belt.
Right, I was going to say, I like the big buckle belt.
I wonder why that could possibly be. Certainly doesn't speak to a certain character from a certain anime that you adore. The answer is Ceres.
Moving on.
So, do you remember what the winner of the first poll was?
I think it was Enchantress.
It was, in fact, Enchantress. So, I can't say I'm too surprised about this. You know, it's, again, classic witchy design. A little bit of thigh showing is always going to be enticing for people who are into that kind of thing.
The squish.
Yep. But it is just a good witchy design. Yeah. People love the big hat. That's always a thing. I'm sure the wizard, the male counterpart, also has the big hat. Probably going to be very popular.
Yes.
No, it's cute. It's cool. It looks like she looks like someone who will absolutely ruin your day with magic if you cross her, which is good. Like, that's a scowl she's got going on for sure.
It makes a statement.
So I can't say I'm too surprised. Now, do you know, Jane, do you remember what of those 4 your pick was that you would have liked to win?
I think I picked Enchantress.
Did you pick Enchantress?
Yeah.
Okay. I know I couldn't quite remember. So you got your winner.
Yeah, what did you pick?
I chose Berserker.
Ah.
I love the Berserker design. I like having female characters who are like literally in strong muscular classes actually look like that.
Yeah.
Like that was something that, or it is something that's always bothered me with Fire Emblem with Charlotte, who, if any of you are familiar with Fire Emblem Fates, Charlotte, Norian Berserker character, one of Jane and I's favorites from that game. And in some artwork, she looks properly strong, and in other artwork, she looks like she's completely noodle-armed, and I hate that. It's so frustrating to me. You know, if it's a supernaturally powerful character throwing an axe around or whatever, that's fine, because you can make that excuse. But this is just a person who will mess you up with an axe. She should look like she will mess you up with an axe.
I agree.
Yeah, Berserker was my pick, and I believe came second in the poll.
It's nice to have that variety in body types.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it makes sense. Like, these are soldiers. They should really look the part of what it is that they're trying to do. So I completely agree with that. And I believe Berserker was in second place. Enchantress won by a large margin. And then Archer and Cleric, I think together had only like 9% of the vote. So they did not do well.
Oh, no.
But what can you do?
Yeah.
What can you do? So moving on to poll number 2, we can start off here with Dragoon. So I know this was a design that you really, really liked.
I did really like it. It's just very interesting to look at. It looks organic.
It does, doesn't it? Like, this looks like it could almost be a living creature, which I guess makes sense. Dragoons in these types of games have always had that idea of like they're trying to be the dragon to slay the dragon.
Yeah.
So having that vibe about the armor is definitely really nice.
Right. So I really want to see what she's holding.
Right. Yeah. So for you guys, I'll try and have slightly larger artwork. I have more cropped versions here so that Jane and I can see it. But she's got a long hafted halberd all the way up at the top. It's like probably twice the length of the image.
Yeah.
So I had to crop it out. But yeah, it's a big, large bladed halberd.
That's really neat. Yeah, it's just, there's a lot going on in this design, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But I think they gotta do a good job of breaking it up.
Yeah, right? Because, like, so many JRPG designs are so overly designed and super ornate. And, like, you can't say that this is anything but ornate. But, like, we've got the blue, almost like pantaloons, I guess you would say.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna call them, too. They're, like...
Because they've got
poofy.
that fluffiness. Yeah, exactly.
Like Jester pants or something.
Yeah. Underneath the armor, plus the white tabard like we kind of saw on the Cleric. And you're right, it does break up the salmony pink armor, which is good. I really like the flared wing designs almost on the shoulders. Very, very cool. And then the helmet just looks vicious.
My God, it does. Looks like it could cut you.
Yeah, a swift headbutt from that thing would probably do just as much damage as the glaive if you weren't careful.
Headbutt someone. Yep.
Viciously.
It just kind of reminds me of, I know it's supposed to be reminiscent of, like, dragons, but it kind of reminds me of seashells. I don't know why.
There's a fishy design going on here, for sure. Again, I'm assuming that the shoulder pieces are supposed to be wings, but they have almost a fin-like design as well. Which, I mean, there are certainly more fish-like aquatic dragon designs out there, so not particularly in this one, but I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
There's almost like a sea leviathan sort of vibe going on.
Yeah, right.
Which is cool. I do like that. Plus the salmony pink armor.
Right.
All of that. So, no, great design. I think it's super sick. Very cool female armor design in general. Yeah. And we got another dagger.
We have another dagger. Well, this one's hanging off their shoulder, actually, but it's at hip level.
Oh, so it is. Look at that. Oh, yeah, I didn't even notice that. I was just like, oh, it's on the hip. It must be attached to... Nope.
It's hanging at the hip.
Yeah.
But it's attached to the shoulder.
So it is. Yeah, I don't believe they can actually use daggers.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. So that one's just an aesthetic
choice. I just don't think it needed the dagger there, but that's just me.
It very well might just be an Akihiko Yoshida specialty. Like, the dagger.
There's already so much going on here that I just think that's a little excessive.
A little much.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. If anything, could have maybe made like a more ornate design on the tabard or something to fill that space if they really felt the need to.
I just think the rest of it's enough. But
I agree. I'm just saying if that was what they were going for, they felt like they needed to fill that space, then maybe that's something they could have done to make it a little more appealing without putting a whole dagger there.
Yeah.
So that was Dragoon. And then following up after Dragoon was Valkyrie. So this is a classic Ogre battle design. I don't know all the games, but as far as I know from what I've seen, there's always a Valkyrie class in all of the games. It's just one of those designs that's like, you think about Final Fantasy, you think of a black mage.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same deal,
Oh, cool.
from my understanding. So, and again, I mean, this is an awesome design.
There's a lot that I really like about this design.
I know we can kind of give a spoiler, but this was your chosen class from this poll, if I remember correctly, right?
It was a toss-up between this and Dragoon, but this is what I decided on in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it is so sick. Like, I mean, the first thing I go to is you've got, like, the winged headpiece.
Yeah.
That's always a really cool design. It's very, like, Grecian in its portrayal, and it's just... It calls to mind, like, you talk about a Valkyrie, these, like, godly envoys from the skies, right?
Yep, these badass women. Yeah.
Yeah, just riding down, like, sometimes on Pegasi or things like that, and just spearing foes. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And they are magic wielders as well in this.
Very cool.
Yeah, they are your first hybrid class that you can get. So you'll either be using swords or spears with them, and then they can also use any of the elements of magic other than dark.
Okay.
And they're offensive casters. So they're primarily throwing fireballs and lightning spears and things.
Very neat.
And they can infuse themselves with the elements that their actual attack does elemental damage as well, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So, no, I think it's a great design for sure.
I think so too. Yep. We got the just going from bottom to top. The shoes. I like the shoes in a lot of these designs, but it's like the floppiness at the top. It really gets me. I don't know.
The floppiness at the cuff, and then just like the long leather boot in general.
And then the stocking underneath. It's really neat.
Yeah, I know that's a design that appeals to you in a lot of different like characters and things like that. And it does look really cool.
It does.
For sure. And again, practical, like you're going to keep the elements off of your legs. You're not going to, hopefully if they're well made, get like trench foot and stuff. Because how's water getting in there, you know?
Exactly.
Like... No, it's but supple, flexible, able to be moved around, which is really good.
Right.
I love how flowy like the dress is and everything like that. It's again like mobile, elegant, but somehow, even though it's not super heavily armored, it's still intimidating in a way as well.
I agree. It's like she's badass enough to be fighting and riding around on a horse in this freaking dress that's long and down to her feet. Better watch out.
Well, yeah, and again, it kind of calls to mind like togas and like very lightly armored because I am not afraid of you at all
like
kind of mindset. Yeah. Who needs armor? You're not coming within arm's reach, especially with that lance. Like she will spear you from afar.
And her dagger is almost like a sword.
Right, which makes sense because again, they can use swords as well. So it's definitely more of a short sword, less of a dagger type vibe. But then we do still have some armor like on the chest and on the shoulders and everything like that. So, which just aesthetically looks cool.
Right.
Having a little bit of armor is nice. The long gloves, everything like that. It's a design that just oozes elegance and style.
Yeah.
Which is super awesome.
I completely agree. And there's a nice little necklace hanging down at her chest there. I think that's a really nice touch.
Yep, a little bit of ornamentation,
and
just enough.
The red of her shirt pops. I like that.
Yeah, well, yeah, because the rest of it is very muted. Like you've got the dark, almost grayish in the boots, and like the dark navy-ish of the dress, and like the silver of the armor on her head and on her chest, and then you've just got that splash of red right in the center, which goes into the pink of the gloves. It's nice.
I really enjoy this design.
Absolutely. So I completely agree with you on that one as well, darling. Moving on, we come to Warrior, which is, spoiler, my choice from this poll. I just think this is such a simple yet badass and cool design. You know, again, not like super heavily armored because this isn't a knight. We have knight classes. This is not a knight. This is like a mercenary that you're going to hire in a tavern, and they've got their sword and they've got their wits, and that's about all they've got going for them. But that's cool. I like that. Looks tall, strong, confident, good posture, like the casual, cocky sword over the shoulder.
Right.
Like the whole thing looks super sick. And I think the colors are really, really nice. Again, more muted, realistic. Like you can see someone wearing this in real life.
Yeah, it looks very comfortable to me. That's the first thing that came to my mind. I mean, it looks like she's wearing leggings, first of all. Which, as a 20-something white lady in America, that's all I wear. So
it speaks to you on a spiritual level.
So there's that. But then you have like her tunic, which, like with a lot of these designs, you have the tabard that goes down between like her legs and between her knees and stuff, which I like that. And then you have the belt around her waist, which kind of cinches it all in and gives her some shape, and I like that.
Which is good, too, because it's like, you don't want it to be flowing all over the place, having, like, get caught on, like, tree branches and stuff while you're, like, trying to move quickly around and things like that. You want your clothes to be fitting to your form so you kind of know where everything is instinctually, which is good.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. One other thing I wanted to point out is the crisscross design that seems to be throughout her design here.
That's true.
So
true.
The X's.
You see it on the arms, but then also after you said that, I saw it like on her hips as well.
It's also on her chest.
Oh, you're right.
And
Look
it's
at
also
that.
on her head.
Oh, on the headband too. Look at that.
Yep.
Huh. Yeah, I completely failed to notice those.
Yeah.
It's kind of a subtle but unique design point that we've not seen in any of the other designs.
Yeah.
That kind of ties the whole thing together thematically.
Yep.
That's nice.
There
I
you
like
go.
that. All like leather, again, very like simple, homemade almost could be, functional, comfortable, all the types of things you would want it to be when you are mercenarying it up.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Mercenarying it up.
Plus, I think the headband is just cool.
I think so too.
You know, keep the hair out of the eyes, keep it up and away and everything.
It almost speaks 80s to me, maybe because of the hair and the earrings.
For
but
sure.
yeah.
No, there's something about this design that's like 80s workout class vibe almost, which is really funny.
Right.
And is not like a design aesthetic you would initially think of at all for a warrior, but like it looks good.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
I like it.
She has the boots, which are floppy on the top.
Of
still,
course,
even
of
though
course.
they're not high, but they're still floppy on the top, so
It's
they
still
get a plus from me.
It still speaks to Jane.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was my choice. I think it's a great design. I really, really enjoy it. And moving on, we finally have Knight. We mentioned it before. We said, this is not a heavily armored knight character because we have our heavily armored knight character. Here she is. And I think as far as knight designs go, I really like this design.
Yes.
It's interesting because, like, whenever I think of knights in games like this, I always go to knights in Final Fantasy Tactics.
Okay.
Because that was, like, where the concept of knights and things like that in strategy games came to or from for me.
Yeah.
And I can see a lot of the similarities between this design and that design, which it's the same artist, so
Okay.
it makes sense. But the difference here is that in Tactics, you had a shorter, more tunic-y type dress.
Okay.
And you had a big, like, over-the-shoulders cloak.
Yeah.
Compared to this, where you've got the longer dress, which kind of fulfills that same idea of having cloth around the exterior of the armor,
Yeah.
but no cloak.
Right.
So it changes the dynamic a lot. But I want to know what you think about this, because it seems like you have a lot of thoughts percolating in your mind.
I'm trying to decide how I feel about it. It certainly isn't my first choice.
Okay, that's fair.
It looks very warm.
That's true. That's true. With all that, like the plate under and then over top of the dress, that would probably get quite toasty very quickly.
Yeah. It's an interesting combination of elegance and practicality to me. Tough. It screams toughness, but also like I go to church every Sunday.
That's fair. That's fair. And something that's worth noting in Tactics Ogre, unlike knights in a lot of other games, they can actually use healing magic.
Oh, interesting.
So they have a little bit more of a paladin-y vibe going
Yeah,
on.
I guess that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. So that might be part of why the design is the way that it is. To me...
Yeah, what do you like about it?
Well, to me, what's interesting, because I do agree with you, it has that mix of, like, tough battlefield warrior, but also very elegant and almost noble.
Yeah.
And there's two designs out of everything we're going to talk about today that give that vibe. It's this and Witch. And it says to me that these character designs might have been designed with the Bakram in mind, which the Bakram are one of the races on the islands in Tactics Ogre.
Okay.
And they're kind of the highborn rich nobility.
Okay.
So you can see in some of these designs, there is a more ornateness, a sort of idea of look at my wealth to have what I have on, even as I go onto the battlefield.
Right.
And so that's what I feel when I see the female knight design specifically. Again, the dress is very ornate. You've got this really nice royal, like navy blue, almost purplish patterning around the edges of it.
It's very nice.
The frilliness of it, the poofy shoulders, all of this. Like, you could see if you didn't have the armor on, this would almost be a stately court dress.
Right, like she's going to the ball.
Right, exactly. But then there's a functionality to that, because then it also works once she clips her armor on and gets it all belted up and everything. She can go right from the courts out onto the battlefield.
Right, it makes sense.
So it almost is like this is a lady who owns land and is then leading her forces in battle.
Yeah, it's like her outfit itself is a status symbol.
Exactly. Because originally I kind of had this feeling of like this is too ornate for a female knight design, and obviously I've spent a lot of time with this design over the years, so I've come to percolate some thoughts on this. But I've come around to it more with the idea that that might be where it's coming from design-wise.
It definitely, I'm sure everyone else has thought about this too. It gives me Saber vibes.
Oh, yes.
From Fate.
Well, yeah, because if you compare it to Saber, like, she's got her armor and dress are almost exactly the same, like, location-wise. Like, she's got the gauntlets, she's got the leggings that are all armored, if I'm remembering correctly,
yeah, she has armor on her legs, she's got armor on the hips, she's got armor on the chest and arms.
But then she's got the blue, right? Blue dress
blue
underneath
dress
and everything.
with the white, like, underskirt.
Yeah.
You know?
So I'd have to compare and see which of these designs came first, because it might inform if there was any influence between them, you know?
I want to say this one came first, but...
Probably. And now this is not the original art for the original release, like on the PlayStation back in the day.
But I'm sure it's similar.
But, the designs are all pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So the final thing that I do really like, or two things really, is how ornate the scabbard is.
Yep.
Again, really ties into that status symbol. And then these like plate mail hair clips that she has,
I see
they're
that.
like really great.
Yeah.
I really like that. And it makes sense because she's got long hair, so it would be getting in her face a lot.
Right.
So I'm sure that helps like weigh it down and keep
it does.
in place. But I just think it's great. She's like got little shields on her hair.
Yeah, that's cute. I didn't even think about that.
It's really great.
I do like how it ties the rest of the armor into like the head region, because I'm imagining it without, and just looks unfinished.
It would feel very basic without like a helmet or something
Right,
going on.
yeah.
So yeah, having that little bit of armoring there is cool.
That's a really neat touch.
Yeah, I like that. So that was pull 2, and perhaps unsurprisingly, if you were not paying attention, Valkyrie crushed the competition. Like, blew it away for pull number 2. So, can't say I'm too surprised. Again, Valkyrie, excellent design. A lot of other good designs here as well. But, I mean, when you're competing with one of the mascots of the series, you have to really be bringing a lot to the table.
That is true.
To try and compete.
My personal deciding factor, the ultimate deciding factor, is which one of these would I most likely cosplay.
Oh, yes. That is something that I probably should have stated at the beginning of the video.
I think you did.
Did I?
I think so.
Well, I stated like that I brought you in like as the design-focused one, the cosplayer, everything like that.
Fair.
So if it was not obvious, Jane's idea is like, okay, which of these would I like to cosplay the most?
Yeah.
And I mean, Valkyrie would be an awesome cosplay.
I agree.
For sure. So who knows? Maybe you guys will see that sometime in the future. Jane and I
man.
cosplaying designs from Tactics Ogre.
The only thing is that I think you have to be, you don't have to be, but she seems very tall to accommodate all of that boot and stocking.
Well, and you have to be tall to handle a spear like that too,
Right.
because they're very long.
Right.
So, but I mean, you could make that work.
Potentially, I'm very short. So.
All right, moving along to part 3 of the poll. We're going to start off here with Fusilier. I mean, this is just a fun design.
It is very cute.
It's like, and this was like a fan favorite. There was a lot of people who were disappointed that this did not win its respective poll, and it did not. But I mean, it's great. Like, you've got, of course, the dagger on the hip.
The dagger on the hip. Yeah.
That is just a favorite of these designs, apparently. But this very floofy, frilly, almost hoop dress design going on. It's very like American frontier.
Yes.
The big hat, again, people love the big hats.
Yep.
The gun over the shoulder with the big bayonet on it. I like the green gloves.
Yeah, it kind of, for some reason, ties everything together, though I don't see any other green in the design.
There's no other green on the design, but because it's the only place where that color is, it makes it pop in such a nice way.
Yeah.
And it's a muted green. It's not neon. It's not super bright.
No, it's like
it's foresty.
Right.
Which is nice. Which kind of has like the evolution of the Archer in terms of gameplay. It's kind of nice to have that grounding in that naturey vibe. Even though we obviously have a much more industrial kind of design going on here. We have the belts. No ammo belt, although the one over her shoulder kind of looks like it could be.
It looks like it might be.
It might be.
Like shotgun shells or something.
Yeah, which is nice. I do like that.
Yeah.
But no, I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. It's very cute.
Big belt in the center, which we like for sure.
I like the big belt in the center.
And I like the tassel hanging off of the rifle as well.
Oh yeah,
That's
see
cool.
that. I wonder what the purpose of that would be if it has one.
That's a good question, right? It almost looks like it could be a little brush, so that maybe like you can detach it and use it to clean the individual parts of the rifle or something
That's
like that.
what my thought was, yeah.
So, and I also like that the top of the hat is armored.
Yeah, me too. I was looking at that.
Why is it armored? I have no idea, but it's really cool.
Yeah,
I do
agree.
like that. I do like that a lot. And like the sort of I mean, you know the hair, so you would know if anything. Like, what is the design? Like the kind of cinched at the center, her bangs or like the sides of her head. What is this design? Do you know?
It just looks like pigtails to me.
Would it be pigtails? Okay. I wasn't sure if that'd be the right description. But
Yeah, it just looks like pigtails.
yeah, it definitely lends to that whole cute design.
Yeah, very, again, like American West.
Like American Girl type of, like going on a stagecoach cross country to set up on the West Coast type thing.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. I like it a lot. So fun design. A lot of people really wanted to see this one win. Moving on to its direct competitor, I think these wound up actually being exactly the same in the running, both around 30%, is Kunoichi, the female ninja class. And I mean, this just is a female ninja.
Yeah.
Like, just straight up. There's honestly not a whole lot else to say about it. Like, you could pull this character out of Naruto if it was a different art style.
Yeah, that's kind of why I didn't consider this one when I was voting. It's because it just looks... It's just a ninja. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a ninja.
It really is just a ninja, honestly. Like, you've got your face mask, you've got the headband, you've got, like, the multiple different weapons, a katana on the back, like, Nodachi in the hand, the hooked thing
Like
on the hip
thing.
there's a name for it. I don't know
like
what
a
it
fireplace
is.
poker.
It kind of does,
Yeah.
doesn't it? And maybe that's a sai, but I know sais are usually like the three-pronged, so I'm not sure. I mean, you've got the leather boots, again, the tabard hanging down, if we're talking about design consistencies.
Right.
There's either a dagger on the hip or a tabard hanging down between the legs, or both.
Or both. Yeah.
The main thing I like about this design is how different the colors are from a lot of the other designs.
I agree.
It's you've got lots of tans and golds and like crimson-y, orangey type things going on. So that's nice. It pops a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a whole lot else to say about it. It's a ninja.
It's a ninja. She looks good.
Yeah, it's not a bad design in any way, but it feels, of all of the generic designs, the most generic in terms of all of the different ninja designs you've seen in games over the years.
Absolutely.
So it's cool, but it's a ninja.
Yeah.
Moving on to a design that stands out a lot compared to a lot of other JRPG designs, we have the Terror Knight.
Terror Knight.
Now, this was the winner for poll number 3, which was quite the polarizing decision. There was a lot of people who were quite unhappy to see Terror Knight win, either because they just liked one of the other designs more, or they didn't like this design. But there were a lot of people who really did like this design. And this was actually one of my top picks. It was not my overall pick, but I do love this design.
Yeah.
It's freaky.
It is really weird.
Like, when you call a class not a Death Knight, not a Dark Knight, but a Terror Knight,
Yeah.
that says that there's got to be something weird about this design.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the whole thing is just freaky and out there.
The best thing to me is the helmet.
The faceless void helmet.
I really like that part of this design.
Yeah, and it's got like almost like demonic eyes and nose right
Yeah.
at the top, and the spiked horns and the whole thing. Like, again, this is Tactics Ogre in the Ogre Battle series. You don't have demons and devils and things like that. The big bad enemy is ogres. And that's kind of an ogre-ish looking design. You know, it's freaky. There's no neck. It's just this long plated. There's a face in there somewhere, presumably.
But you don't know really where exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I said to Jane when we were talking about this, like, I would be terrified to see that thing running at me across a dark battlefield or in like a dark alleyway or something like that. Like, I would feel like there was a demon running at me.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's definitely creepy.
And like, they use dark magic. All of their abilities are about inflicting the fear status effect. They use big two-handed swords and hammers and axes and things.
Even
like
that dagger around the hip is even ginormous.
Yeah, that is like a honking dagger.
Yeah.
Like, you get stabbed by that thing, it's going to be a bad time.
That's taken out your entire heart.
Easily. Now, there's a couple of design things about this I know people called out repeatedly of really not liking. A lot of people really didn't like how high the heel is, and a lot of people don't like the skirt. And I get that. I understand that. You know, a lot of people, in terms of practicality, don't like heeled armor in games, but, you know, it's a fantasy setting with undead and dragons and things. Like, more fantastical, impractical armor designs doesn't bother me as a result. And then a lot of people don't like, as they call it, the sailor skirt.
The sailor skirt, yes.
What do you think about that? Any particular feelings?
I just think the whole design is so strange that the skirt doesn't bother me. I think that if you're looking at it, you can kind of see that it's all one piece, like it's a dress.
That is a really good point, actually.
So that also kind of makes it okay with me. You're just adding the armor on top.
Right, which kind of makes it look more skirty, but you're right. If you look at it, like, the cloth under the arms is the same color.
Yeah.
So that's more, almost like of a short tunic-y type design.
Yeah, but I see what people are saying. I see why they don't like it. But to be honest, which is something I didn't mention back when we were looking at the Berserker, I don't like the skirt on the Berserker.
That's true, and it was a very similar type of skirt going on. That's fair. That's fair.
Yep.
And you think it works more here because of the strangeness of the design?
Honestly, yeah. It's all just kind of weird.
Yeah. No, I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
And I do agree, like, again, you've got these massively long, like, thigh-high armored boots and this spiked shield that looks like it's ready to punch something.
Like a beak.
Yeah. And you've got, like, the huge spikes on the shoulders and everything.
Yeah.
Like, the whole thing speaks to impracticality and weirdness. Like, you look at the normal knight, and a normal soldier is going to be like, okay, I know where to hit this thing. Where do you hit this thing?
Right.
Like, it's going to be coming at you from 8 different directions with spikes and weirdness and flowiness and, like, can you even hit the legs? The whole thing is armored. Like, where does the armor end and, like, cloth begin? It's hard to say.
And I speaking about the legs again and the heels, I actually really like the heels on this design because it mirrors the spikes on the shoulders.
Ooh, that's fair. No, I do agree with that. The whole design is sharp.
Yeah.
Like, even if you look at the fingers, it might be hard to see. I'll try and magnify on the video for you guys. But even the finger armor, it's armored and it's sharp looking. Like, even if this didn't have weapons, you could see it just clawing you.
Exactly.
So, yeah, the whole thing speaks to sharpness.
Yeah, and just one other thing I wanted to point out was on the leg armor. You can see that they have different designs. Not in the top piece, but like in the middle and down. You can see that on her left leg, it's winged. On the right leg, it's almost like
blunted almost.
Yeah.
You're right.
And then on her left leg, you have like the gold notches.
Right.
On the right one, you don't.
That's a really good point, huh?
Yeah, so the whole thing is just freaking weird.
Yeah, it's offsetting. Like, the asymmetry is weird as well. Yeah. I like that. That's a great point.
Yeah.
I don't really see any other inconsistencies like that, like on the shoulders or anything.
Not that I'm seeing.
That would have been a cool detail to include, honestly. I would have liked that, but... No, I mean, I love both Terror Knight designs. I think they definitely fulfill the idea of being terrifying, frightening, walking juggernauts on the battlefield. Yeah. It's very, very cool.
Yeah,
so.
I just think, I get the complaints about the heels and the skirt, but, like, if you see that thing walking across the battlefield, you're like, what the fuck is going on there?
Yeah, exactly. You've got a line of normal knights and archers, and then that thing behind them. And it's cool, because a lot of times Terror Knights are, like, commanding forces earlier on in the game and stuff like that, so you're like, oh... I have to kill that?
Yeah, there's just something really wrong here. Yeah.
So yeah, I love this design. It wasn't my pick, but I do think it's very, very cool. So, moving on to our last pick for this one. This is going to be a little bit hard for us to analyze because there's no full body pictures or artwork for this design.
Yeah.
It is the Necromancer, and I'm actually going to magnify it for Jane and I a bit here so we can see it a bit better. So this is Necromancer.
Yeah.
Y'all know what Necromancers are. They're dark magic users who raise the dead and are generally enemy aligned. But as far as Necromancer designs go overall, this is a really cool one.
Yeah, I wish there was better art for it, because I think it probably would have been my pick if there was.
It was still my pick, by the way, but, like, it is such a shame. I figured of all of the designs that would get full-body art for Reborn, it would be the Necromancers, since it didn't have it before. But there's just something so weird and otherworldly about this face-fitting veil.
Yeah, I like it.
That's so strange. It covers the whole head, and you can almost see it like looks like her hair.
Oh my god, I was gonna say the same thing. It's like you can't tell where her hair ends and the veil begins,
Right?
And stops or whatever.
And it's very freaky. You've got this like hooked finger and like the gold crown and the whole kit and caboodle.
She almost looks like a statue.
Yeah, carved marble.
Yeah,
it's very interesting, and it's simultaneously very different than the male design, but has just as much freakiness attached to it. So I love this design. I think it's super cool. It's a damn shame that there's no full body art.
Yeah.
And I do think that it would have performed a lot better in the poll if there was.
I agree.
But I mean, just going off of it, it has the ornateness that you would expect from a wizard and like wizardly magic using caster. And you can even see, like, underneath the veil, you can see the outline of her necklace.
Yeah.
Which, again, is so weird. Like, is it just sheer see-through? Is there something about being a necromancer that fits it to your face?
Right.
Like, how does that work? I don't know. But it's cool.
It's neat.
It suits a dark magic user for sure.
Yeah, I like this a lot.
So, yeah, I love this design. Maybe at some point in the future when there's, like, a art book released, we'll see a full-body art piece or something like that.
That'd be neat.
Yeah. Any other comments before we move on to part 4?
Nope, that's it.
All right.
Did we talk about the winner of that poll?
Yes, and it was Terra Knight.
Terra Knight.
Won by a slim margin. It only beat Fusilier and Kunoichi by about 6%.
That's fair.
So there's a lot of merit for those designs in general, but yes, Terra Knight did take the victory on that one. Finally, moving on to part 4, we're starting off with the Beast Tamer, which, I mean, right off the bat, I know you said you really like this design.
I love this design.
Was this your pick? I think
This
it was,
my
right?
pick.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's just really cool.
It's freaking awesome. Look at it.
I like it was your pick, so why don't you, if you want to lead us off on what you liked about it?
All right, going again from bottom to top. You got those boots, man. The floppy, freaking long boots that end at the thigh. It's just so cool.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I think it's really appropriate for the Beast Tamer because those long boots, I think, are like people who train and ride horses wear boots that long.
Yes. Yeah, because
So-
it prevents like chafing at the thigh and things like
Yeah.
that. Absolutely.
So I think that's appropriate. Then you have the dagger, which isn't on the hip this time. It's on the leg, on the thigh.
Yep.
Which I don't know. It might be really impractical, but I really like that. Just is really stylish to me.
I mean, it's a good place to be able to grab a dagger from. It's not
Yeah.
as heavy as a sword, so it's not as likely. And you can even see on the belt, it's still weighing the belt down.
Yeah.
Which is awesome attention to detail, by
Right.
the way.
Right.
But it's a dagger. It's not going to like drag the whole belt down your leg.
Yeah.
And it's still easily grabbed, which
Right.
is good.
So I really enjoy that. Also, just a really quick, still going from bottom to top, but I like how the coloring and the accents on the boots and the dagger holder and the gloves all kind of match.
Yeah, they've got that goldish vibe to them.
Reddish, yeah.
Which stands out from the, again, otherwise very grounded, earthier tones.
Yeah.
So it's not super ostentatious or ornate, which you wouldn't expect from a beast tamer. That's someone
Right.
who's probably down in the mud, you know? But just a little bit, just to make it pop.
Right.
I like that.
And then you have the pants are like, I don't know, I just love the pants.
Is this a bodysuit?
I don't know. I think the pants and the top are two separate pieces.
Are they? Okay. Because they're
Yeah.
the same color, so I wasn't sure. Because you can see, like, even in the sleeve, you've got that same
sleeve is also
olivey green. So I didn't know if this is like a full bodysuit that then other pieces are going over top of.
It gives that vibe, I guess.
The only thing that makes me wonder is you can see the top is baggier, like it hangs over where the belt is, but that could just be from the top part of the bodysuit being looser fitting and then being cinched by the belt.
Well, the way I interpret it is that is just the pants. Like, the top of the pants are floppy and are tied in by the belt.
Oh, okay.
That's how I'm seeing.
Gotcha. That's possible.
Yeah.
That's possible. Absolutely.
So, I don't know. I like things that cinch in at the waist.
Fair. Lots of designs that speak to Jane and Tactics Ogre, it would seem.
I like it a lot. So then I also like the accent on the pants, the top of the pants. I don't know. It looks almost like runes to me, like writing almost.
Yeah. I like it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And then the top itself looks almost like it's a hard piece because it's so shiny, or it could just be leather.
I think it might be armored.
Yeah.
Because you look at them, the shoulder pads are definitely armored as
Yeah.
well, and
And-
seem to have dragon scale on
Well,
them.
I was gonna say it looks like dragon scale. My first thought was like turtley. It looks turtley to me. But my favorite part of this design is the headpiece.
Oh yeah, of course. It has to be, right?
Like, it's just so cool.
Yeah.
It looks like maybe like part of a dragon skull or something like that.
I feel like it has to be.
Yeah.
It's because, and again, beast tamers are the classes you're going to go to train and tame for you enemy dragons and enemy beasts. So it totally stands to reason that they'd have a lot of leather and bone and scale. So like the top piece of like maybe like a proto drake's skull or something, because it's definitely smaller.
It's small,
but like that, it's got that vibe. It's got the horns.
Yeah,
for sure.
It just gives it a whole nother feeling. If you took it away, it'd feel different.
It would feel very basic.
Right.
But yeah, that headpiece definitely ties the whole thing together.
Yeah, it reminds me of a Cubone.
Yeah. It really does, actually. That's very interesting. Sort of like the base for a Cubone Gajinka.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
So and then one last thing that I like about this is that her hair is slicked back from her forehead, it almost looks like.
Yes.
Which I enjoy that type of hairstyle.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, practical, keeps it out of her face while she's working with whatever animal or dragon or whatever she's working with. Has the whip, of course, as you would expect.
I didn't mention the whip, but the whip is pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah. And again, they wield whips as an actual weapon in the game. Pretty effective with them. So, no, it's a great design. Again, down to earth, simple, not super overdone or anything like that, but it gets the vibe across for sure. Definitely like this design.
Very nice. Do you have any thoughts on this design otherwise?
Not anything more than I really said, or that you said as well. Like, I like the armored top piece. I like the kind of scaled shoulder pieces, things like that. But then it's a very practical design. You can, again, see someone like in a zoo wearing something similar to this minus the armor and everything, which is cool. I like that.
So I enjoy that, yeah.
Absolutely awesome design. Moving on, we have the Swordmaster. Again, kind of like with Ninja.
Yeah.
This feels like a very generic overall Swordmaster design.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, you're a Ronin.
Yep. The cool thing, though, is the asymmetry in the skirts.
Yes.
I know it's not a skirt. Don't come at me. But the asymmetrical design in the bottom half of the yukata, kimono, whatever you want to call it.
Yep. No, I agree. That is cool. We've got, again, the long boots, very form-fitting this time around.
Yep.
Don't have the floppiness to it.
Elegant.
Very elegant. The longer black hair with like some strands in the front and then the rest in the back is nice. Blue headband. Again, it's all the things you would very much expect in a Sword Mastery design. There's not a whole lot else to say about it. I personally like the male Sword Master design a lot more.
Okay.
We'll do that once I do those polls later, which we'll be doing after this video goes up. You'll see the first entry for the male generic design poll. But yeah, it's not the best. It's not a bad design, but in terms of comparing it to the other designs, nothing that really makes it stand out, in my opinion. So if you guys have any particular burning passion for the female Swordmaster design, let us know in the comments. But yeah, it doesn't really do it for Jane and I.
Right.
Moving on, though, to what does do it for me, what was my pick for this entry in the poll is the Witch. And again, this is the design that I was talking about before alongside the Knight. That feels like it's nobility. This feels like a person with money and status who spends just as much time in the courts politicking as she does on the battlefield or in the libraries studying.
Yep.
But it's awesome. Like, I love this design. I love the long flowing coat in the back that you're clearly able to see because of her stance. The cool, almost draconic looking staff, which these are wielders of draconic magic. So there you go. That makes sense. The shorter boots. You've got the like furred, fuzzy, feathery neck piece, shoulder piece, like part, I guess, top of the cape it would be, which looks really, really cool. The headpiece tiara, the shorter dress underneath that doesn't distract too much from like the coat, which is the main draw of the whole design. Again, you can see dagger on the hip in the back.
Dagger on the hip in the back.
Like the really cool ornate neck piece. I really like this design. And again, it's unfortunate that warlocks and witches didn't get an HD rework of their art so we could see the details better. So I think there'd be a lot of cool details. I also find it interesting that even though she's not a physical oriented class at all, and this is something people pointed out a lot when I have her on my thumbnails and stuff, seems to have very muscular thighs.
Yes, very big thighs.
Which is interesting. Like, this is not a physical oriented character at all.
Yeah, it's very...
But it's nice because it's like you were saying, he's got a little bit of diversity of body type going on. Like, why not have a more muscular like magic user? They don't have to all be noodly just because they use magic. Right. You know? Yeah. Is that just because, again, she's maybe comes from noble stock and is well fed or something compared to your average hedge mage or something? Who knows? Doesn't really matter. It's a cool design difference, which I like.
Yeah.
Do you have any particular likes or dislikes about this design?
I mean, there's a lot I like about it. I like the dagger.
Of course,
has a
of
very
course.
Sharp, like
The hilt.
I
You
guess
could
it
like
is.
carve out an
Pommel,
eye with
yeah.
that thing. Yeah, or the pommel,
Whatever it's
not the
called.
hilt. The hilt also looks sharp though.
Yes. So I like that. I do also really like the coat. I like how they drew it on the bottom, how it lays. Like,
Yes.
You can imagine the weight that it has, and
Yeah.
the flowiness that it has.
You can see that dragging across like a courtroom floor or something,
Yeah.
like as she's walking up to the king to present her case about something.
Right. The staff is also very cool, like you said. I like the gloves and how they
gloves are
connect
nice.
with the sleeves.
Yeah, that's got to be some sort of wrap or something, right? Like the sleeve must be underneath, and then maybe it's bound with like some sort of tie or something. Again, if it was a more high def piece of art, we could see the details
see.
better. But
Yeah.
I do like that.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I want to say that those the red by her boots, I want to say those are socks, which would be awesome.
Oh, they probably are, right?
Yeah.
Because I imagine you can see the silver kind of etching all around the boots, and then it stops.
Yep.
So you would imagine that's probably where the boot stops.
Right.
Yeah, so she probably has kind of red stockingy type stuff going on
Yeah.
underneath, which, again, it ties in. You've got a little bit of red there on the gloves, on her belt. Just a tiny splash of red to tie together the blues and the whites and the silvers of the
Yeah.
rest of the design.
Yeah, so it just looks like she belongs. I don't know. Compared to the rest of the designs, it's very modern.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Like, you could almost see a lot of this in a modern fashion show,
Yeah.
which is cool.
Yeah.
Again, it speaks to the status of warlocks and witches in this setting, which I think is nice.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say,
Mm-hmm.
the fur on the jacket, the coat, ties in to the sharpness of the staff and the dagger very well.
I agree.
So I really like that, and it also gives me like witch vibes, like
Mm-hmm.
they're of the nature and of the woods and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So
I agree. Yeah. And again, these are, I've been saying again a lot, but this is a type of magic caster that's very different from your more classic hedge mage. They are cultured, they're studied. The pursuit of knowledge is the thing that drives warlocks and witches. They can use draconic magic. They can use all of the other schools of magic other than necromancy. So having that sort of wild attunement is still nice in their design.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Show that base
Yeah.
while still having the refined elegance that you would kind of expect
Yeah.
from a scholar.
it's a very well balanced design. So
So I love it a lot. It was my pick. Unfortunately, oh no, it did win. I was
Did it
thinking of the
win?
finals. Yes.
I thought Beastamer won.
No. Which won in this category? It's the finals that Witch
Fair.
did not win.
I
So
see.
I was very happy that it won in this category, even though it did not win the overall. Moving on from Witch, we have Lich. Not the same thing. So I love this design. It was very hard for me picking between Witch and Lich. Again, Lich is using necromancy and things like that. Undead magic casters, all that type of stuff. Maybe not necessarily undead in this setting though, which is interesting. But this is a dark mage.
Yeah.
This is a dark mage. You've got all of the dark purples and blues and blacks, but a lot of gold on it as well. I love that the veil has like the gold coins, like we're going
Yeah.
down the river Styx.
No, that's neat.
Super cool veil design. Kind of armored, bony hands. You can see the bones on it, and even the armor itself looks like bone.
Yeah, I agree. I like that part about the armor design as well.
The staff is really cool. There's some sort of name for that type of staff. I know there is. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either.
And the kind of Fusilieri pigtails,
I
which
was
is
gonna
interesting.
Say, the hair is the same as the Fusilier almost.
It's very cool. It's very cool. The hood up, I like that a lot.
Right.
I just think this is a very cool, menacing design. But what do
Yeah.
you think?
No, I agree. I think it's a neat design. It's a good design. I don't really know what else to say about it.
Fair enough. One of the things that I do like about it as well is that we have not just like the hood, but the whole cloak that flows down.
I agree.
And it's interesting because this is probably the only time that I've ever seen a design for a lich in anything that isn't like some sort of harem anime that
yeah.
is sensual
Yeah.
in its design, and that's very different from the male Lich design, which looks like it should be undead, the male Lich design,
Yeah.
but the female Lich design does not. This just looks like a dark magic caster who's just way too lost in the sauce of dark magic, you know? Has that kind of crazy villainous vibe to it, which is cool. I like that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good about this design. The only critique I have is I don't like the frills. I wish it was just a little bit more muted in that respect.
I agree. I think there's one or two places on this design that I don't like the frills, and then one place that I definitely do like it. The places that I don't like it, I don't think it needed the kind of frilly skirt ballerina vibe going on. If anything, I feel like that could have been just more like the full tunic design, kind of like the witch has.
Right.
Especially because then we have the full cloak behind it.
Yeah.
And then like around the chest piece, very like lingerie.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that, to be honest.
Like I don't care that this is like a bustier design and they wanted to draw attention to that. Whatever, that's fine. Dark villainous vibe is probably what they were going for here. But like they could have just stuck with the armor, I think.
I agree.
And that would have been fine.
I agree. I think it almost distracts from other parts of the design that I think are cooler.
So no, I agree with you on that. What I do like it though on is the sleeves, because it almost gives like a fungal decay vibe.
I was gonna just say the same.
Right?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I think that looks really cool.
I like that. You're right.
Especially with like the bony hand pieces, because it gives that vibe of undeath, of decay, of like mushrooms and fungus and growth.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Maybe that's why they included the frills in like the skirt design and around the chest piece and everything. I could see that being the argument. But I feel like if that is the argument, then they could have done a better job of making it look like that the way they did on the sleeves.
I do like the purple though.
Yes. Oh yeah, the overall purpley, dark, blacks, grays vibe looks really cool. I definitely like that.
Yeah.
Even the skin color kind of gives a vampiric undead vibe to it.
I was wondering about that. I'm like, is that her skin? Or...
It is. It is. That's the whole skin tone of the character is that ashen gray. Definitely gives the vibe of this is a person that dabbled a little too much in the dark arts, and it's definitely affecting them.
Definitely a little unhinged, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, I do like the design. A couple critiques with it, but overall, I think it is cool.
Yeah.
So, and then this did not win again. Witch is the one that took this design. So, yeah, a bunch of good contenders. Let us quickly wrap up, because this has gone on far longer than I think Jane and I expected, but we like to talk about designs and stuff. Of the finals, and the finals were, as we kind of stated already, Enchantress, Valkyrie, Terror Knight, and Witch. And surprise, surprise, Valkyrie, in a pretty landslide victory, took the win on this one.
Right, yeah.
So, how do you feel about that? Of these four, do you feel okay with Valkyrie having won?
I'm okay with that. Yeah. I was surprised Enchantress didn't win, though.
Yeah, Jane had a lot riding on Enchantress in terms of just, like, expectations, because it is a really good design.
Classic design.
It did really well in its poll, like, and it just fits the whole vibe of the game very well.
Yeah.
And it took second, so it's maybe not too surprising. It at least was at the top. But no, Valkyrie crushed it.
She's just so badass looking.
No, I love everything about the Valkyrie design, and I love all four of these designs. Like, I think they all deserved to be in the top slots.
I agree.
You know, you could make arguments for some of the others maybe having beaten them in their respective polls and coming into the finals, but I don't think it's a mistake or misplaced that any of these made it. I personally am very sad to see that Witch was all the way at the bottom in terms of its design, but I mean...
Poor Tom.
That's all right. It's okay. Again, I love all these designs. They're all super awesome. And I do think the Valkyrie is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I am happy with these results. I think they are fairly indicative of a large part of the Tactics Ogre community. Each one of these polls had like 1,500 votes on it by the time it was done.
Wow, very cool. Yeah.
And that's you guys. Thank you all for contributing, because I didn't know how much traction these polls would get. But we at least have a pretty decent sample size for what the overall Tactics Ogre community thinks now.
Yeah.
So Valkyrie, the big victor. I don't know if I'm going to do some like thing at the end of like all of the victors of all of the polls in one last slug out, like knockdown, drag out grudge
cool.
match. I think it would be cool, right? Like the male generic winner, the female generic winner, then like the male and female uniques, and then like the beasts, I think.
Yeah.
I can only include 4 in the poll though, so it's kind of awkward in that
that's
regard.
hard.
Maybe we'll leave out beasts.
Maybe leave out beasts.
But yeah, so I think this went well though.
Yeah.
Did you have fun doing this, Jane?
I did, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I had a lot of fun doing it, both in terms of setting up the polls and then doing this video with you.
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of heated comments in the discussion in the bottom.
I can only imagine.
All I can say is just be kind to each other, guys.
Yep, be good to each other.
Yep, I say at the end of every video, be good to each other. You can have disagreements, you can like or dislike certain designs, but just try and have some respect for each other and have some respect for the artists who made these designs, because I think they are all really good and a lot of love went into them.
Right, I think so too.
Try not to be too disparaging is all that I ask. And let us know what you thought about just this more off-the-cuff, discussion-y format.
Yep.
I will be doing the male generics design poll after this, and then so long as you guys enjoyed hearing our thoughts and the discussion about it, and you'd be willing, Jane, we'll do another wrap-up discussion for that one once it's done.
Yeah, sounds good.
So until then, I'm looking forward to seeing the discussion. Thank you all again for participating. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman.
And I'm Jane. I'm here sometimes.
Also known as Honeyskull Cosplay
Oh,
or
yeah.
Honeyskull Wig Shop, depending on where you're looking on the internet.
Right, I make wigs.
Where can people find your wig work, Jane?
Oh, boy.
Plug your stuff.
Okay. Well, you can find me on Instagram at Honeyskull Cosplay. It's all one word.
Nice.
And then on Etsy, just Honeyskull Wig Shop. I make wigs for cosplay.
Very good wigs, as a matter of fact. If you're looking for any wigs for any upcoming photo shoots or conventions or cosplays in general, anything like that, consider hitting Jane up.
Thanks.
She's got a bunch of good examples of her work, again, on her Instagram, on her Etsy, all that type of good stuff. You're pretty booked for commissions right now for the next few months, though, if I remember correctly.
I am. But if you come to me with something that I've been wanting to make for a while, I can fit you in.
There you go. So consider that. She has reasonable prices. She does good work. Sometimes I even help out on them. So
He does. He's gotten very good.
well, thank you, darling. Yeah, so we're going to wrap this up here. Again, thank you all so much. I hope you all have a good night. Stay safe and healthy out there. And remember, be good to each other. Bye, guys.
Bye.